4 service providers who have failed to disburse funds. They also want a complete overhaul of NASFA's management. Your international story: more than 250 humanitarian and human rights organizations worldwide have called for ending arms transfer to Israel amid the bloody ground and airstrikes against Palestinians in Gaza. And the humanitarian organizations are also demanding an immediate ceasefire in the territory. A statement demanding these actions, which was initially issued in January with a signatory list that included 16 major humanitarian and human rights organizations, has in recent times grown substantially as the Israeli military intensified its attacks in Gaza. The joint statement described itself as an open call to all UN member states to stop fueling the crisis in Gaza and avert further humanitarian catastrophe and the loss of civilian lives. Your weather: it's at 22 degrees. Quick reminder of our top story: protesting Umfolozi TVET college students have shut down 5 of the institution campuses. They claim that service providers, including guards, cleaners, cooks, have not been paid in the last 8 months. That's the news.
Radio Al-Ansar.
أحب الوفاء بشتى الصور أحب الوفي الأمين أغر.
Join me, Faisal MJ Suleiman, this and every Saturday on Rise and Shine. Looking forward to gracing the airwaves of Radio Al-Ansar from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Rise and Shine.
الوفاء بشتى الصور أحب الوفاء بشتى الصور أحب الوفي الأمين الأغر فأهل الوفاء كلون السحاب.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم سيدنا محمد وآله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. All praise due to Allah, the Lord, cherisher, nourisher, sustainer, and master of the universe, the most gracious, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Ya Allah, it is only you that we worship, and is your guidance that we seek. Ya Allah, keep us in the straight path. Ya Allah, shower us with the choice of blessings. Ya Allah, shower us with your mercy. Ya Allah, guide us. Greetings, salam, salutations on our beloved Nabi Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's now 5 minutes past 9 on this beautiful Friday evening, the 12th of April 2024, the 2nd of Shawwal 1445. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Let's Chat on Radio Ansar with myself, Faisal MJ Suleiman. Yes, I did say it's the 2nd of Shawwal, which meant that we celebrated Eid al-Fitr yesterday, and Eid Mubarak to each and every one of you. I hope you had an absolutely wonderful day and are continuing with the spirituality that we experienced during the month of Ramadan. And inshallah ta'ala, hope that the rest of these days will be spiritually charged and uplifting as well. On Let's Chat tonight, we will be discussing how to maintain a healthy lifestyle after Ramadan, and our special guest this evening is Safia Khan, a biokineticist. And before we speak to Safia, I must just thank Mondley for engineering for me this evening in the studio. Mondley, thank you very much. And inshallah ta'ala, we hope that we're going to have an enjoyable program. Yes, this is an interactive program, and you can forward to us any queries that you might have, any questions that you might have for our biokineticists on 060-904-1056. Safia Khan, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and Jazakallah khair for joining me in the program this evening.
Wa alaikum salam. Jazakallah for having me.
Absolute pleasure, absolute pleasure. Now, Ramadan, it was a time for fasting, reflection, and spiritual renewal, and it often brings with it changes to our daily routines and eating habits. Now, many of us find ourselves wondering how to continue with those positive habits and stay healthy beyond Ramadan. From nutritious eating habits to staying active, managing stress, and nurturing our overall well-being. Well, I think Safia Khan's going to have us covered. Our goal is to equip you with the knowledge and motivation to make healthy choices. Safia, I introduced you as a biokineticist. Nice word, biokineticist.
Gee.
Who or what is a biokineticist?
So, biokinetics is the name of our profession, and bio meaning life, and kinetics meaning movement. Together, it means life through movement. So, any physical activity, any exercise, all of that in your everyday life is biokinetics. So, biokinetics from a biokineticist is specific, specialized, and prescribed exercises for you as an individual based on your needs and what we have assessed during our consult.
So I don't go to my personal trainer at the gym, I should come to you.
Depending on your training goals,
Okay.
depending on your health, yes, it depends.
All right. Safia Khan is the KZN Regional Chairperson for the Biokinetics Association of South Africa since 2023. She is a DBC accredited practitioner and has worked at the DBC Spinal Rehabilitation Center for over 2 years. What is DBC?
It stands for document-based care.
Document-based care.
Gee.
Okay, interesting. Sorry,
Yeah.
It's a Friday night.
Gee.
We want to sort of wind down, if I put it that way. So sometimes, in this fancy terminology presents
Oh,
itself.
yes, of
So
course.
one needs clarification.
Our brains are tired.
As it is, I'm going to have to deal with some WhatsApp messages. I mean, the WhatsApp language that comes, I have to deal with that as well just now. But, okay. Safia is currently working on community health and wellness projects and expanding the profession of biokinetics whilst trying to bridge gaps in rehab by encouraging multidisciplinary approaches and referrals. Experience with chronic back and neck pain management, spinal care rehabilitation, general fitness and conditioning, as well as geriatric fitness classes, Khan has worked with disabled, paraplegic and amputee patients and now gravitates towards pain management and sports injury rehabilitation. As I say, I introduced you as a biokineticist. I asked you what was biokinetics.
Gee.
We'll get it right, don't worry. What was biokinetics? But what inspired you to pursue a career in biokinetics?
So, funny story, really would expose myself a little bit, but why not? Basically, I was always very sporty, always involved in any type of sport or activity, a little bit of a tomboy daredevil growing up. And was engaged in a lot of high school sports. And one day I woke up the day before my June exam. And
this was in metric?
No, in grade 11.
Oh, grade 11. Okay.
And I ended up having a really high fever. My mom and pain in my abdomen. Mom rushed me to hospital, and basically I had to have an emergency appendectomy. So my appendix was removed. After this, nobody told me about scar tissue management post-surgery. Nobody explained to me how long it would take for me to be able to walk briskly. No one explained to me the challenges of just basically having an injury, being in surgery, or just, having any sort of change in your day-to-day. I couldn't walk fast or briskly for 2 years. So that really debilitated me a lot. I was still in school. I repeated grade 11 because I obviously didn't manage that year. And then I eventually did my matric. And sometime in that matric year, I developed such severe neck and upper back pain and stuff. And yes, you might think, oh, she went to a biokineticist. They inspired her. No, I actually went to a chiropractor. Went to a chiropractor, and as we were doing the whole consult, they very as with any healthcare practitioner, consultations are very conversational. And since I was a scholar, he asked, what's your plans? You're in matric. What are you applying for? Sorry, it was actually in grade 11, my second year in grade 11. That's when he asked me. He said, what are you planning? Have you applied anywhere? And I said, not sure, hey, but I am so sporty. I really hoped, I could do something in that field. Maybe physio, chiro seems great. Give me some of your experience. Do you recommend it? He said, actually, I think you would be perfect for a profession called biokinetics. And I said, what is that? Just like you, what is that? I have never heard of this before. And he explained, and he said, it's basically a sports science degree that you end up specializing in rehabilitation. I went home, I looked it up. I saw that UKZN Westville campus, has that course. I checked the requirements, all of that, and eventually I decided that is what I'm going to apply as my first choice. Physio was my second, and I honestly cannot remember what my third choice is, because the second I got accepted for that sports science degree, I jumped for joy and said, right, that's it. I don't care if I get accepted or rejected for
Of
the
course,
others.
absolutely. So you had
This
to
is
go.
it.
You had to go to Egypt to learn of this biokinetics.
Imagine, yes. I had to go somewhere else to another professional. But
No,
you
no,
know,
what I mean is you had to go to Egypt for it.
to where?
Egypt.
Egypt?
You
Why
said you went
Egypt?
to Cairo. Oh, okay.
Different type of Cairo.
Different type of Cairo. Okay, okay.
Ooh,
okay.
that was almost, it's a bit late, hey?
It is, undoubtedly.
Brains are a little tired. That
Yes,
one
of
went
course.
whoops right
Yes.
over my head.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
So that's
But-
how I got into bio.
Oh, excellent.
And
excellent.
eventually I realized that I had initially only thought of it as rehab for post surgery,
Yes.
rehab for sports people.
Mhm.
But, you know, we learn so much about the body, how to rehabilitate anybody from infants to children to really old geriatric plus
And all this is through
populations.
exercise.
Yes,
Amazing. Absolutely.
absolutely amazing.
Now, having done that, speaking of exercise,
Gee.
so you probably design exercise programs tailored to individual needs and goals. Is that
Gee.
correct? So how do you do
Correct.
this?
So initial consultation is required. We do a whole full medical history. We chat to you. We write down all of your, all of your ailments, if any. If you are injured, we find out exactly how. We basically do an investigation. We ask a lot of questions. Sometimes people want to waffle on about other things, and we're like, no, let's go back. You mentioned that time you were in a car accident, but you were not the driver. You didn't really have much issues, but this back pain and this neck pain that you're talking about is not acute, or what we call acute, meaning a sudden sort of injury.
Yeah.
And it seems a bit more chronic, because you did say you had multiple moments throughout the past maybe decade where you noticed that your back or your neck or your upper body was feeling a little bit tense. We sort of find connections along the way to sort of draw a bigger picture. And then we say, okay, based off medical history, whether you went and saw any specialist, if you were hospitalized, if you had any falls, any other sorts of injuries or incidents that happened, and we sort of gauge theoretically what could have went wrong and where. And then we do our physical assessment, which is moving the body around, testing and doing all of our special tests to determine if it's a joint, for instance. You have pain in your knee. We know what ligaments are in the knee. We know what tendons are connecting, to the bone. We sort of have different tests that will allow us to know which one is possibly injured and the degree of injury. So in a way, we can diagnose certain injuries. Obviously, that would then result in whether we continue treating you or we say, hang on, I think you really need to see another practitioner, whether it's to go for an x-ray or an ultrasound, or to see a specialist like a orthopedic physician or a surgeon. Sometimes it's beyond us, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So once you're done, if we have to refer you out, we will refer you out to who it is. Sometimes you need physio first. The pain is so severe, it's so acute or new, and it's falling out of scope of practice for a bio. You are in your first phase of rehabilitation. There's 4 phases. And sometimes we push you to the relevant practitioner. Once you've seen the physio, got some pain management, and that pain has decreased or completely gone away, then you start to see the biokineticist to rehabilitate the cause of that initial pain.
So am I only going to see you if it is, like, for example, post-surgery? Or am I going to see you like at any time? Because what happens is, my thinking as a layperson, if I've got a pain in my knee, for example, I'm going to go to my GP. He's going to say to me, you need to see an orthopedic or something. At what stage or how do I come to a biokinetist? Am I going to be referred to one, or just ring a phone you and make an appointment, come see? How does it work?
Okay, so no, firstly, you don't have to be post-surgery or anything like that. What happens is, if you have any concern about your body, possible pain, possible sort of discomfort, or if you feel like you can't do something as well as you used to a month ago, you're not sure why, or you just feel a slow decline, I'd like to just remind you that prevention is better than cure. So as well, as much as I say we do rehabilitation, we also do something called prehabilitation or prehab. Prehab, preventative rehabilitation.
Yes.
So before something gets broke, you fix it.
Yes,
Prevent the issue or the incident from occurring. And so, depending on how you manage to pay the bio, whether it's going to be cash, whether it's going to be medical aid, that will determine how you see the bio for that initial consult. If it's a cash, you can phone any bio. You can go onto the Biokinetics Association of South Africa's website. There's a little tool and function to search a bio in your area, and you literally see which one looks good. You can open up your social media, etc., see exactly where they are, call them, schedule an appointment. It's as easy as that. If it's a medical aid, it depends on which medical aid you're on, whether that biokineticist is registered on that medical aid. We sort of choose which ones we want to work with. And depending on your medical aid type and plan, that's going to depend on whether you have allied funds available or savings that can pay towards it. But doesn't hurt to phone your biokineticist that you are interested in seeing, and just check with them to see how to go forward.
Okay, just while I'm going to learn how to get hold of a bio, let's take an ad break. But just let's remind our listeners that you can forward to us any questions you might have for our biokinetist on 060-904-1056. We'll visit the marketplace and continue on the other side of this.
We'd love to meet you. Pay us a visit. Radio Al Ansar.
The people of Palestine need your support now. Africa Muslims Agency is on the ground, already providing food, medication, and emergency supplies in Gaza. Donate any amount to Heal Palestine at africamuslimsagency.co.za. Africa Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Do you feel stressed and anxious thinking about what to cook every day? Are meal preps eating away at your time? Well, don't get frustrated. Get cheeky. We have done the hard work for you. With our range of frozen, conveniently cooked and pre-packed chicken meals, let us take away the daily stress from an amazing dinner idea. So go on. What are you waiting for? Convenience in your freezer. Frozen, marinated, and conveniently cooked chicken meals, as well as a range of delicious sauces, are available from Get Cheeky. Contact Ahmed on 071 682 5188. Taste the difference. Get Cheeky.
اللهم احفظ المسجد الأقصى من اليهود الحاقدين. اللهم أعد المسجد الأقصى إلى رحاب المسلمين. اللهم وطهر المسجد الأقصى من اليهود الغاصبين. اللهم عليك بهم فإنهم لا يعجزونك يا قوي يا متين. اللهم منزل الكتاب مجري السحاب هازم الأحزاب سريع الحساب اهزم اليهود وزلزلهم يا قوي يا عزيز.
Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031 306 4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickfield Road, Overport. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our hearts ache for our brothers and sisters in Gaza who are enduring unimaginable suffering. Despite ongoing bombardment and devastation, they continue to face the dire shortages of food, water, and essential supplies. The situation is dire, with reports of famine in the north and women and children dying from starvation. It is heartbreaking to think of families observing Ramadan without even the basic necessities to sustain them, whilst our tables at home will be laden with the best of foods at both Sehri and Iftar. I'm asking you to donate 100 rand or more so we can feed a starving Palestinian with a hot meal at Iftar. I urgently appeal to your generosity and compassion. The banking details: Al Ansar Relief Fund, the bank, Netbank, the account number 112-687-2814. The branch code is 198765. Netbank account number 112-687-2814. Branch code 198765. Al Ansar Relief Fund. May your generosity during this blessed month bring comfort and relief to those in need.
أحب الوفاء بشتى الصور أحب الوفي الأمين الأمر.
Join me, Faisal MJ Suleiman, this and every Saturday on Rise and Shine. Looking forward to gracing the airwaves of Radio Al Ansar from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Rise and Shine.
الوفاء بشتى الصور أحب الوفي.
Radio Al Ansar, Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Maritzburg 105.6 FM.
أحب الوفاء بشتى الصور أحب الوفي الأمين.
You're listening to Let's Chat on Radio Ansar with myself, Faisal MJ Suleiman. We are discussing how to maintain a healthy lifestyle after Ramadan. And of course, our guest tonight is Safia Khan, a biokineticist. And Safia is going to be discussing very shortly about Ramadan and how it's going to assist us. Right now, we're still getting, she's still talking to us about the biokineticists and how they can help us, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, getting to the crux of it. Let's get okay.
Sure.
Ramadan, was a time of fasting, spiritual reflection, and of course, we had a particular lifestyle that we had, that we maintained, a very healthy lifestyle for many of us. Fasting during the day, the Tarawih at night, etc. Now that it's gone, how can we, what can you suggest for a smooth transition from the fasting routine of Ramadan, firstly to a regular eating pattern, whilst maintaining a healthy lifestyle?
Okay, so I think my first point, just to mention the point and then to expand, is just to say gradually return to regular eating. The body went through so much of changes in Ramadan, so many restrictions that it's experienced, and now if you just start eating everything and anything and not watching amounts, not just what you're eating, but the amounts, and it puts the body in shock, basically.
Well, I'm sure that yesterday we were all in shock.
Yeah,
Total shock.
Personally.
Because notwithstanding, what we're seeing, the atrocities all over the world, especially in Gaza, notwithstanding all the poverty, etc. Yesterday, many of us misspelled the word Eid. Instead of EID, we spelled it as EAT. And, and seriously, all our bodies went into serious shock. In fact, we're recovering today. So, I just want to know, how can you make that transition? Let's forget yesterday. Let's say today we're back in shape.
So just because maybe it's a meal time, you have your breakfast, your lunch, and your supper. Some people have a bit of a tea break in between lunch and supper.
Yes.
Doesn't necessarily mean that you have a meal. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need to eat a big portion. Listen to your body. Our bodies have been fasting for so many hours in the day, and that's what it's now used to. So if we can sort of listen to our bodies and eat when we are hungry rather than eating at a specified mealtime, that might just make things a little easier. I know it is hard, especially in a family environment. It's nicer to eat as a family, eat together. There's more muhabbat. However, sometimes you don't have to force yourself to eat the entire normal portion that you're used to eating. Try and have a smaller portion. Try and slowly introduce the body to the more spicier foods, maybe. Try to limit certain things that you know tends to irritate your stomach or your bowels. If you have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, if you have indigestion or reflux, that is something that you struggle with. Try and you know what your trigger foods.
Yes.
you know by now. You should know what they are, and you should try to avoid them, just to slowly prep the body to be a bit more healthier, to be in less discomfort.
No, I think that's important. So you prep the body. But also what happens is, during Ramadan while you're fasting, I've got to eat this and I've got to eat that after Ramadan. I'm missing this and I'm missing that. And it comes post Ramadan, you just want to dive into it.
That's true.
So a lot of mind over matter,
Yes.
discipline, etc.
Self, we just have to sort of practice that self-control. Very difficult. Very, very difficult. But
no, but I'm sure.
Easier said than done in most scenarios. I won't say I'm perfect. I also struggle with it as well. But it's something that we should be mindful of. If we are aware of it being a thing that we need to be adopting in our daily life, then that's one step close.
But it's amazing how during the month of Ramadan we can discipline ourselves.
Yes.
I mean, not only from, when we're fasting, refraining from, but also like when it comes to eating. We want to eat healthy, especially at certain time, to make sure we're not going to eat anything that's going to sort of upset us, because we are fasting, we can't, but we take cognizance of these things. Yet when it comes now,
it somehow just goes out.
Everything's gone out of the window, yes. And it's been medically proven as well that fasting, I mean, it helps you medically, physiologically, it helps you as well. And of course, they say medically it prolongs your lifestyle, but that's in the hands of the Almighty. When He's just when your time is up, that's when you go. But from a medical point of view as well, I'm not a doctor. But this is what the doctors speak about it, that it actually helps you. In fact, many dietitians as well even suggest there's a nice intermittent fasting.
Yes.
It's a Friday night, as I say. Intermittent fasting. It's a sunnah of Rasulullah. Monday and Friday you fast. So, I think we need to sort of gradually phase back into, I won't say our normal routines, but discipline ourselves and try to stick to that, and we can sort it out. There's a WhatsApp message comes through from a sister, Aisha. She said, Salams Faisal, you do have your wits razor sharp. Cairo to Cairo for a back-breaking experience.
Oh, gosh.
She talks of Cairo, talks of Egypt. I'm going to digress a little. Why are the children of Egypt confused?
I'm not sure why. Because your wits are sharp tonight.
No. Because they are concerned that when the daddies die, they turn into mummies.
Oh, no.
Okay. Let's get back to our topic. No, Sister Aisha spoke of Cairo, so just that went through my mind. 0609041056. We are discussing how to maintain a healthy lifestyle after Ramadan. I'm sure you've got some tips for us as well. You don't necessarily have to pose a question to the biokineticist, but you can share a tip or two with us. 0609041056. Now, what are some common dietary pitfalls that people might encounter after Ramadan, and how can they be avoided?
So, some of the things, to just list a few, would be like your overeating, snacking, skipping meals, eating high calorie or foods with high sugar contents, and obviously not hydrating enough. So when I mentioned mindful eating, I said it helps with your self-discipline. Practice that mindful eating so that you are aware of what you are intaking. You are aware of not just what, but the quality of the food, what's the calorie like. Well, you don't have to calorie count, but you sort of know whether it's going to be a heavy meal or a lighter meal. And based on how your body is feeling, whether you are, feeling a little lethargic, you sort of know what to sort of eat to not leave you in a food coma afterwards.
I like that one, food coma.
Yes, you don't want to be left in a food coma because you ate that biryani at lunchtime, even though you weren't feeling so hungry. You still ate it because it was tasty.
Yes, of course.
You didn't practice a little bit of self-restraint there.
It becomes difficult sometimes.
It is, especially when the food is good.
Absolutely.
So, unfortunately, one of the other things we have to remember is that if you don't eat properly, if you are not being mindful of what your body's needs are, it results in things like a disrupted metabolism or poor digestion. This can result in indigestion and reflux and a whole bunch of other things that cause discomfort. It also, it results in decreased energy levels, and sometimes you actually feel nauseous or lethargy. And yeah, it all can be avoided if you just sort of practice that mindfulness. So some of the solutions I would propose is to have an increase in home cooked meals. A lot of people like takeout. A lot of people feel they don't have the time to cook an actual meal. They are making what's easy. And sometimes that repetitiveness of eating the unhealthy foods is what leads to your discomforts. Let's call it the discomforts.
No.
And yeah, I mean, we all know that a home cooked meal Islamically, it's cooked with love. You make your ibadah while you're cooking. That food is blessed and it's got more barakah in it. So it should be good for your body. You know what ingredients and the quality of the ingredients is going into your meal and what you are feeding yourself and your family. So yeah, try to avoid the takeout or food from that's not cooked in your kitchen.
Yeah, in fact, and of course, you forgot the most important ingredient that's included there as well. It's a love and affection that the wife, the sister, the mother, the husband, the son, whoever's cooking the meal puts into it.
Correct.
But you are correct. You can't beat a home cooked meal.
Yeah, you really can't.
Irrespective of what it is. It can be something basic, something simple. But there's enjoyment in it, and especially when you assist in preparing it.
Oh, you assisting in the kitchen?
I will if I have to. I don't have a problem.
Mashallah.
I don't have a problem at all.
I know some sisters, they don't share that experience. Yeah, the men in the house don't always help. Inshallah, they'll help.
Even if you're just standing and chatting to your wife or your sister while
you cook the food too.
No, while you're chatting to them, I mean, you've accepted. I mean, you have assisted.
Okay.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's so easy to switch your stove on.
So in my house, my mom always laughs and she says, as long as someone stir the pot, you check the food, you check nothing's burning, you stir the pot, you help cook the food.
Definitely. Yeah. No, but I always, in my Saturday morning show too, I always encourage everybody to assist. I cannot tolerate somebody who sits and just relaxes while things are being done.
True.
That's not possible. We all need to assist. But anyway, coming back to our topic again. What are some suitable exercises that individuals can engage in after Ramadan to maintain their fitness levels?
So when it comes to fitness and what would be prescribed to that individual, it's very, very individualistic. Each person is different. Each person has their own needs and conditions or medical history that needs to be taken into consideration. So yeah, it's also related to your fitness goals. What do you want to see in your future, in your health, in your life? And some people, when it comes to fitness, they think of strength or hypertrophy, big word, basically just means building muscle mass.
So what will it cost you to have, say, building muscle mass?
Well, gymming, exercising. Every time someone
you use a big word just now. What?
Hypertrophy.
Hypertrophy.
Yes.
Okay, something I learned tonight. Yeah. So actually, hypertrophy, building muscle mass.
Yes.
Okay, great. I hope I remember that. Monli,
Inshallah.
you heard the word, hypertrophy. Okay.
Make a note of it.
Yes, of course.
Endurance training. Sometimes people talk about cardio. That's known as aerobic training or aerobic exercise. And each type of training results in different fitness results. So based on what you want in your life and how you want to feel fit in that sense, depends on what types of training that you would do. But just to be a bit more general, I would say, things like walking, simply walking up and down, going to the beach, onto the promenade, taking a walk, walking after meals. If you are feeling up to it, starting jogging, things like that. Those are all generic things that you can start. However, I do suggest that you try and see a biokineticist or a physiotherapist or an occupational therapist based on your health. If you feel that there is something concerning, please don't start for any type of physical activity that you are unsure of, especially if it's something new. Lots of people like to just get a gym membership and start lifting weights, sitting in every machine and just pumping away. and they hurt themselves, or they don't know what they're doing and they see no results. Most often they hurt themselves. They develop some form of injury. And yeah, to avoid all of that, maybe just see, even if it has to be at a gym and you see a personal trainer, by all means, see the personal trainer, have an idea of what to do. But if you know that there is some underlying or pre-existing condition that you suffer from, please see the relevant practitioner for that condition.
I think that's absolutely
Yeah.
vital. Now, before I've got two WhatsApps. One's come on my personal WhatsApp and one's come on the studio. The one in the studio says, salams, has come from Sister Suraya Khan. Salams, after all the greasy fried foods, go for more steamed and boiled foods with lots of veggies.
Correct.
Your comments. I mean, thank you for that
Much
tip,
more
Sister
healthier.
Suraya Khan.
Gee.
Much more
Yes.
healthier. Excellent. Okay. And question comes on my private WhatsApp says, it appears that one can save going to a dietitian and to a personal trainer if one goes to a biokineticist, because it appears that a biokineticist can help you with the diet and with the exercise. Is that correct?
To an extent, yes. We can offer guidelines. However, there are certain things that a dietitian or nutritionist will be able to further go into. Yeah. So we sort of encompass a whole bunch of different topics within our training, within our studies, and it gives us a good general knowledge and overview. But if you really are someone who suffers with your health in terms of dietary intake, by all means, don't limit yourself to a bio. Go and see the dietitian in addition to seeing the biokineticist for your fitness. Yeah, the dietitian will be able to guide you better.
In fact, when I used to interview a sports scientist, previously, he always told me that diet and exercise goes together.
Yes, they
It's
go
no
hand
use,
in hand.
Yeah, it's no use exercising if you're going to be eating junk. And
Correct.
it's no use eating well if you're not going to be exercising.
Gee.
So it's correct, is it?
Yes.
So a program can be developed wherein one's diet and one's exercise routine is sort of
Yes.
determined.
Yes.
Okay, I must thank Sister Suraya Khan for that advice that she said.
Gee.
After all the greasy fried foods, go for more steamed and boiled foods with lots of veggies. Just to continue with our discussion, are there any specific drinks or fluids that can help replenish electrolytes and support hydration and level post Ramadan?
Yes, so hydration is always best to have water, but when it comes to loss of electrolytes, etc., things like coconut water, any type of rehydrate, you get all those sachets, you dilute it in water, they help replenish. Just ensure that they contain a combination of like sodium, potassium, magnesium. Those are sort of the minerals that will quickly help replenish what has been lost during activity, or just if you are feeling a little dehydrated, if it's very hot, you need those types of vitamins to get replenished. There's certain herbal teas. Just ensure that you're not adding sugar to them. You're keeping the sugar intake low. Some people suggest fresh fruit juices. You can sometimes dilute it a bit with water so that it's not too sweet, or that you sort of infuse your water with fruit as well sometimes. That also helps. And just to avoid caffeinated drinks or drinks with lots of artificial sweeteners and just have high sugar contents. They help like not dehydrate you, essentially.
No, you said avoid caffeinated drinks. You said avoid sugar. I'm just wondering, what happens if you're a teetotaler? I mean, you have a lot of tea.
Like
That's
I
what I mean.
said,
Yeah.
no one's perfect. I'm not perfect either. I'm a teapot.
Okay.
I love my tea. Every morning I have a cup of coffee. I can't skip it. I also am a sweet tooth. I have a sweet tooth. So yeah, my tea and my coffee does contain sugar. I do try to cut down. But I sort of manage it. I sort of maintain it. I try not to eat other things that will further increase my intake of daily sugar, etc. So moderation. That's the key point. Everything in moderation.
Absolutely. Except exercises.
No.
Even
Exercise
also
as well.
Also in
Everything in moderation.
Excellent. Okay, I think that's the most difficult part.
Yeah.
I think most difficult is getting down to exercising rather than exercising itself.
You know, some people say it was so hard. Their fitness journey was so difficult to start. They couldn't, for the life of them, get up every morning and just stretch. Or they couldn't find the right time in the day to stretch or to exercise or just do a little bit of physical activity over and above their day-to-day life. But once they've gotten into it, once their energy levels increased, once they reaped all the rewards of exercise, they're addicts. they are literally gym rats, or they are constantly doing things that are fitness related.
Because
The
you know,
entire life changes.
I mean, you had this thing that I can't do it.
Yes.
Right? I can't do it. I'm not going to do road running.
Yes.
I got to sit and watch the others run.
Yeah.
And then suddenly when you start it, right, you enjoy it.
Yes.
It
and then
becomes like
you-
a drug.
Yes.
And then you want to do it all the time. Because, I mean,
Correct.
there's a certain pleasure in it.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think one needs to get down to it, mind over matter,
Gee.
and one can achieve it.
I mean, let's look at something that's a bit more relevant, or it's somewhat new. All the paddle courts.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Who knew what paddle was? I didn't.
Absolutely
When paddle
not.
came out, I was like, what
It's
is
become like a
this?
fashion, but everyone's just following it now.
Yes, but the thing is, people enjoy it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's such an enjoyable sport to play.
No, it is.
It's common. There's courts all over the place, booking, etc. Everything is so it's so much easier to do than just trying to, do most other sports. If we look before paddle, there's all the AstroTurf courts all over. They all
There
allow
also
you
was
to
a
come
hit.
play soccer. Big hit. Everyone's doing it, and that's great because
Squash was a big thing as well.
squash as well. Yes, it increases that physical activity that people engage in. They find something that they like, that's challenging, that makes them feel good, releases those endorphins, and you just have like sort of a high. Look at us talking like about drugs, like we're talking about the effects, and it sounds like we're taking drugs, but no, it's exercise.
Yes.
Exercise, and you are regulating your hormones, you are regulating your body's basic functions, and sometimes you are restarting or resetting certain functions in the body, and that just improves your lifestyle and the quality of your life so much better.
Okay. There's a question that comes from my sister Rehana, and she says that, Sloan, I had total hip replacements on both hips over a year ago.
Sure.
I need to know if it's safe to use a vibration-placed exercise machine.
So is she using this at home on her own, or is she going to see someone, a professional who uses this technology?
It appears she's using it alone at home, because if she was going to somebody, then he would have.
Yes, he would have advised her.
But
correct.
yeah, she says she's got to use it on her own.
So I don't suggest it. It's very difficult. So the other thing about talking about conditions and stuff, yes, you had hip replacement bilaterally. However, your experience that led to having that hip replacement and your experience after the hip replacement is completely unique to you. I could have had 10 patients that I've seen with the exact same condition, and each and every one of them I would have treated differently because their symptoms, their pain, their levels, their functionality levels were all different. So I do suggest that you do come for a consult to any bio in your area, see who is nearest to you, phone, ask them if they are comfortable working with someone with a bilateral hip replacement, and take it from there. Inshallah, you will get better advice after they've seen all. We have to see the whole picture. We can't just say, oh yeah, you got a pulled back, do this. I think that's my biggest pet peeve is when people hear I'm a bio and they say, oh yeah, you can break my back, you can fix this, so like show me one stretch, and they think the pain relief or I will be able to fix it immediately, but that's not the case. So everything has to be sort of assessed first before we can make a decision. It's always an informed decision.
Absolutely. So, because if she's going to use it just on her own without it can aggravate the situation.
You can
as well.
aggravate the situation, make everything worse, and it's unnecessary discomfort that you might put yourself through. So I do suggest maybe first check, with a bio or with a physiotherapist, and have that consult first.
Inshallah.
Take it from there.
Thank you so much for that, man. 060-904-1056. After a month of practicing self-discipline and restraint during Ramadan, how can individuals avoid overindulgence and practice mindful eating habits in the post-Ramadan period?
Overindulgence is sometimes difficult. I think we've been restraining ourselves so much that all the things that we find our guilty pleasure, we sort of now have full availability to it.
Absolutely.
So yes, it is difficult. I know personally, I do also experience this. But like we mentioned before, you need to plan your dietary intake. So I suggest, knowing you have a week, I'm not saying meal prep. I'm not saying cook the same thing every day for lunch, same thing, and you just reheat it. No. What I mean is, if you know that you're going to cook a certain dish, maybe it's a mutton curry on a Monday, or it's a meatless Monday. If you know that you're going to do a specific dish for lunch on a Tuesday, or if you plan on having supper leftovers for lunch the next day, whatever it is, you know what you are having and you stick to that. So that's one of the ways to ensure you're having a balanced diet, ensuring that your dietary requirements are met for each day, and ensuring that the food is healthy. So if you are someone, just say, who has any medical conditions, or you are suffering from anything that's causing discomfort when you eat certain foods, so I mentioned trigger foods, nice to see a dietitian. If you've been to a GP, if they've told you, okay, avoid this, avoid that, because you obviously know the dals and the lentils and the beans are all triggering your stomach, avoid them. But if you're someone that really likes your dalgos, if you're someone that likes halim, and if you're someone that likes to cook all of your, like, oh, look at me, I'm gonna say all the different dishes, all the Indian dishes. But yeah, if you're gonna make all of your dal fries and whatnot, because you like it, but sometimes there's certain dals you can eat, there's certain grains that you can eat, and there's certain that you just avoid. So if you are unsure, maybe see a dietitian, a nutritionist. They'll be able to guide you a bit better based on what they have consulted you with. Another thing with mindfulness is try not to snack in between. I know that's so hard.
That's difficult.
I know, it's so difficult. But
especially
if you have
now,
to,
especially now, after eat, having everything, every time you walk past, grab something. But anyway.
Yeah, it is hard. But if you know that you're a snacker, if you know that it's something that you sort of need to focus. I know, like, when I used to study a lot and you're always at the desk, you sort of, I used to crave a little something to crunch or munch on, etc. If you have something that's more on the healthier side, I'm not talking like your chips and your sweets and your gummies or whatever. I mean, like,
the fruit,
healthier stuff, your nuts, your fruit, your nuts. Well, too much fruit also, everything in moderation.
Of course.
But yeah, healthier stuff that isn't going to upset your stomach. It's not going to upset your appetite for the meal that's coming. Things like that. Stuff that won't result in lethargy or nausea, and just sort of give you more energy rather than, just take away some of that energy and just leave you drained.
Okay. We don't want to get too drained out as well. Let's visit the marketplace. We'll continue on the other side of this, inshallah.
No problem.
Radio Al Ansar, 24/7, 365.
Plan your dream holiday with the specialist, World of Travel, as we pride ourselves in offering you the best in Hajj and Umrah. We also offer travel packages to the Middle East, Far East, and many more exotic destinations. Call our professional travel consultants now on 031 20 888 or view our website www.worldoftravel.co.za. Visit us at 44 Crescent Street as memorable journeys begin with World of Travel by Irshad Malik.
The Sunday Lounge with Salma Kazi Wahab. 10 to 12. Latest machines, celebrity artist features, events, news from the Nasheed world. Top 10 countdown. Sunday Lounge with Salma Kazi Wahab.
Looking to book a venue for that special occasion? Come and book the Conference Centre on 207 West Road or Community Hall on 189 West Road, which accommodates 120 to 300 people with ample and safe parking. For all your hall requirements, contact the Reservations Department on 031 208 1601 or email us at reservations@alansar.org.za. Save the date, don't delay, book away.
We want to spend some family time with you. The Breakfast Rush Family Fun Run or Walk. Be with us on Saturday, the 27th of April, and be part of the fun and excitement as we take on the 5-kilometer course from Blue Lagoon Lawns along NMR Avenue, back along the picturesque promenade to Blue Lagoon. Register the entire family for an outing to be remembered. The Breakfast Rush Family Fun Run or Walk. Saturday, 27 April. Pre-register online to pay and enter. Come enjoy the crisp morning breeze. A healthy run, jog or walk and then picnic with us. Call 031-208-1601 for more details. The Breakfast Rush. Family, fun, run or walk. We'll see you there.
Hey, don't you hate it when your cake or icing just doesn't come out right?
Oh, all the time. It's so frustrating.
Well, have you tried Wooden Spoon? It's a margarine specifically made for baking, and it creates perfect icing as well, every time.
Really? That sounds amazing.
Yeah, not only that, it's by the South African Cake Decorators Guild. And you know what else? When I use Wooden Spoon, it makes me feel like I'm baking with the pros.
This cake is amazing. What's the secret ingredient?
Wooden Spoon margarine, my friend. It's the magic to perfect baking every time.
Get ready for Green Thumbs Up, the gardening and natural living show you didn't know you needed. I'm your host and life coach, Rabia Carvalho, and we're talking birds, bees, butterflies, and blooms, growing food in garden rooms, home-based holistic healing, and much more. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or nature lover, plant assassin, or permaculture professional, we got you. We got you. Let us bring you the ideas, the facts, support, and inspiration to go green wherever you are. Sundays 9 to 10 a.m. only on Radio Al Ansar.
Save the date for Saturday, April 27, 2024. Why, you may ask? Well, it's the Hajj seminar from 7:45 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at 207 West Road in Overport. Proudly brought to you by the Al Ansar Foundation and the Capital Group of Companies.
Did you look at the night? See the light of the moon?
Radio Al Ansar, Durban, 90.4 FM. Peter Marisburg, 105.6 FM.
Did you look at the sky? Are you falling in love? It is from the Creator. You can't get enough. He is everywhere, and He knows we stare. Yes, He knows. Yes, He knows. He knows. You've got the world in your hands. He's the one who we're thanking for life. He is a Rahman.
Let's chat on Radio Al Ansar with myself, Faisal M.J. Suleiman, and we are discussing maintaining a healthy lifestyle after Ramadan. And our guest in the studio this evening is Safia Khan, a biokineticist. Safia, you were talking to us about maintaining, a healthy eating habit, etc. And, we were talking about some of our challenges that we face. Yeah, you need to take it from there, please.
Sure. So we were discussing overindulgence in post-Ramadan.
That's the word I was looking for, overindulgence.
And one of the advice I would like to give is that when you are eating and you feel like you want to dish again and again, we spoke about mindfulness, try to avoid it. If you dish a normal sized portion, you've dished that first time, try and keep it to that. Don't keep dishing thereafter. The way to avoid dishing thereafter and to feel that satisfaction and having your appetite sated is to try and eat that portion over the span of around 20 minutes, 20 or more minutes. Remember, we like sunnah to chew 40 times.
I was just thinking of the same thing right now. You're taking me back to school.
If some of you are struggling, there we go.
You take me back to school where the teacher say you got to chew your food so many times, 36 or 40 times or something. And I'm just thinking of the same thing. That's the only time you're going to buy the time we're talking about.
Well, sometimes just taking your time. We like to rush. I think we all have such busy schedules that sometimes we forget to actually slow down. We forget to slow down. We forget to taste the food.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we scarf it down so fast. They say, I was so hungry, I inhaled my food. That's how quickly you ate it. It was like taking a deep breath.
But I'm sure if you ask today's generation, how can you prolong your meal? It's very simple. Just be on social media while you're eating.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, totally unhealthy.
It's an unhealthy habit to have, definitely. But sometimes some people multitask. They eat while they're still working. They don't have the time to just stop work and take a break. But mindfulness, always try.
I believe you need to concentrate on your food.
Yes.
And enjoy the food.
Correct.
Give it your full attention.
Yeah.
Because then you'll know what you're eating, what you're tasting, etc.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Ramadan is not only about physical fasting, but also about spiritual growth and reflection. Now, how can individuals continue to nurture their mental and emotional well-being after Ramadan? I know this is a bit out of the physical part of it,
Gee.
but I think it's important.
Okay, so Islamically, I think we all go above and beyond when it comes to our salah, our ibadah, reading Quran, etc. And it's not as intense outside of Ramadan. A lot of us just put that extra effort because of the the blessings and stuff that we receive for those tasks. But if we can try and maintain our salah, try and maintain them on time, try and work the salah times and the salah waqts around your day's schedule, find when is appropriate. Sometimes it's hard. I understand. Everyone's lives are different, but you have to also remember Allah is merciful. So if you are trying your best to not miss your salah and not read a qaza salah, for instance, but you are maybe putting something in life, maybe you have to fetch your child from school, maybe you have to cook a meal for lunch for your spouse, or I know I'm talking from a woman's perspective here. Your husband comes home for lunch from work and then he has to rush back. So from this time to this time, it is Zohar time, but you have to feed your husband first. Well, prioritize. As soon as he's done, go and read your salah. Things like that. If it's a man, I suggest trying to reduce namaz at a masjid as far as possible. Find the time. You would be surprised by companies that are spiritually or religiously they're positive. They will, if you say, I need to go, not just on a Friday for Jummah Salah, I need to leave and have a small break. Can I reschedule my lunch break to be around Zohar time? If you're working past Asr, ask them for that break. A lot of companies are very lenient in that regard. So don't feel shy, do approach it. And as far as possible, I think, you just try to maintain your Salah. In terms of your Quran and all of your other sorts of ibadahs, a little bit. Every day, consistency. It's hard to sit and be as into it as we are in Ramadan. Very difficult.
I know.
Our lives sort of go on hold, I feel, for Ramadan. And then afterwards, it's like, whoa, there's a big shock and there's so much to do, and you just neglect all of those other forms of ibadah. So wherever possible, little bit a day, each day, eventually, inshallah, you will create that consistency and it won't feel as if you are neglecting any of your Islamic duties.
Absolutely. Now, what are some realistic and achievable health goals that individuals can set for themselves after Ramadan?
So remember when you introduced me in the bio, you mentioned that I promote multidisciplinary approaches.
Yes. Yes.
I would say seek professional help. Seek the relevant professional help and guidance, because sometimes you need help in certain aspects, whether it's mental. If you have emotional or mental challenges and troubles, you can't just neglect it. You can't say, it's going to be okay and I just need to be positive. Sometimes you need a psychologist, a psychiatrist, etc., to help you through what you are dealing with mentally. No one else is going to understand unless it's obviously someone who's been trained to understand how the human brain works in terms of cognition and how their emotions, etc., are affected. If you are someone who is you're complaining, if you say, my knees are sore, do I need to see or do I need to go for surgery? You're not going to go to a GP for your surgery for your knees. You're going to find a specialist to see you for your knees.
Absolutely.
So likewise, every single healthcare and non-healthcare practitioner or profession, I should say, exists for a reason. We all have our scope of practice. We all have the things that we are trained to do. We've all worked. We've gained the experience, the knowledge, the physical and the mental challenges. We've been through it all. We've been trained specifically for our specific profession, and we can best help you in that sense.
Excellent. Safia Khan, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. But you don't just leave me like that by saying Jazakallah. Have you got, I'm sure that you have a message for our listeners.
Ooh, a message.
Yes, of course.
Gosh, I just feel like we all are human. We all are not perfect, even though we really would like to be. We all have our aspirations, we all have our goals, we all sort of know where we want to go in life. And sometimes that final destination is just scary. We don't know how we're going to get there. We don't know how long it's going to take. And we sort of don't know where to start. I think that's the biggest thing. So I just want to remind our Muslim listeners that tawakkul is important. Have faith in Allah that He knows what is in your heart, what is in your, what you want to aspire towards, what's your goal, and that He will get you there. You don't know how, you don't know when, you don't know who would assist along the way, but just have that faith that Allah would guide you there and take you there, and He will sort all of your, He will sort out all of your problems, all of your queries, all of your concerns. And besides that, just start. Just figure it out. Just start somewhere small and work towards your goals. And inshallah, you will end up getting and obtaining those goals.
Safia Khan, I want to thank you for joining me in the program this evening. It's been wonderful talking to you, and it's been quite informative as well. Okay, you don't need to leave because I'm going to be continuing with the program. I've got another interview I'm going to be doing right now, but a very interesting interview. But as I must thank you for joining me. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you. And I'm going to be talking to you again, inshallah ta'ala, because there's a few more aspects of biokinetics I want to discuss with you. But for the time being, shukran, jazakallah khair, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We listen to this nasheed, and on the other side of this, we'll be speaking to two of our presenters, that's Rabia Cavallo and Nazmira Qasim, and they'll be talking to us about a premiere that we attended this evening of Ahmad Alive, and yes, absolutely compelling premiere, and yes, we will discuss this documentary shortly. But before we do that, there's a message from Brother Yusuf Patel, which I've got to read as well. Glad you are back. Allah's blessings are unlimited and they come in different ways, non-stop. All we need to do for getting the reward of unlimited blessings is follow the simple rules of humanity. Prayers will ease our stay in this world, and we will be able to bank enough for our akhirah. Charity will make our path towards the next life very easy. And to give, we don't need millions. All we need is the courage. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower us with His special blessing tonight and always. Eid Mubarak. And this comes from Brother Yusuf Patel. Jazakallah khair, Brother Yusuf Patel. As I always say, your messages are always very, very inspiring. Shukran for that. We'll listen to this nasheed and continue after this, inshallah.
Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Was the greatest man that ever lived, yeah. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Was the greatest man that ever lived, yeah. He's the one who taught me life. He taught me everything that I know. I thank Allah for my Nabi. Everything that I do is from the book of Sunnah that I follow each and every day. See my beard, cause my prophet said so. I pray my sunnah, cause my prophet said so. Love the ummah, cause my prophet said so. Said so, said so. Thank you Allah for our prophet. His sunnahs are the only riches that we need. This is real success, profit with no interest. And until I be rest. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Was the greatest man that ever lived, yeah. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Was the greatest man that ever lived, yeah. You are the one who teach me how to live my life. You show me the path to reach paradise. You know, what would I do without you? You are the only one that give me all that I need. Oh yeah, yeah.
Meet you. Pay us a visit. Radio Al Ansar.
Yes, you are listening to Radio Al Ansar. It's Let's Chat with myself, Faisal MJ Suleiman, and we're going to continue with the program this evening, but a discussion of a slightly different nature right now. Now, this evening we attended a very compelling premiere of Ahmad Alive, which. Of course, is a very, very powerful documentary, and it offers a vivid glimpse into the harsh realities faced in Gaza through the eyes of Ahmad, who became an inadvertent war correspondent during a crisis. Now, I have online with us Sister Rabia Cavallo and Sister Nazmira Kasim, both of whom need no introduction to the airwaves of Radio Al Ansar. Rabia does present the program on a Sunday morning, that is Green Thumbs Up, and Nazmira does present the program, co-host the program, Breakfast Rush. Rabia, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair for joining me in the program this evening.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So great to be with you on your show.
Absolute pleasure. Absolutely have it's absolute pleasure hosting you. Sorry, I'm getting a little tongue-tied. Nazmira, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and also jazakallah khair for joining me.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and jazakallah for hosting us today.
No, an absolute pleasure.
This evening,
now, we all three of us had the privilege of attending the premiere of Ahmad Alive, a documentary, on the harsh realities which are faced by the people of Gaza, and of course we've seen it through the eyes of Ahmad, who was doing the recording, etc. And this. I think I'm going to pose it to Rabia and to Nazmira. I mean, both of you can individually maybe share your feelings on what impact this particular documentary had on you. Rabia, let's go
first. You want to go ahead? Okay. So, firstly, Ahmad Ghunaim is someone that I was actually following on Instagram, so I was quite surprised to see that it was his story. I had seen his videos of, the bombing going through the house, and I think firstly, the most important thing that struck me was we see these videos and we find them overwhelming. But the fact that, when you bring a baby home and it's that 24-hour-a-day demand, that is a good thing. But now having this 24-hour-a-day non-stop fear, the non-stop bombing, the non-stop looking for food, the non-stop trying to find shelter, that really, really struck me. The other thing that struck me was how he said that in the interview afterwards that, you might want to leave Gaza. Maybe you want to leave Gaza, but you can't, because you have a Palestinian passport, so much for Palestine not existing, and then you have to pay, he said, $100,000 just to put your name on a list to be able to possibly get out.
To pass a little area of 100 meters.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, absolutely. Nazmira, tell me your thoughts, Nazmira.
It's very difficult to honestly put it in words. So I must add that, I got a message yesterday on Eid Day from Brother Muhammad Ayaz Kareem, and he says, give away tickets on air, let the listeners get involved. And I gave away, alhamdulillah, a set of 2 to one listener, a set of 2 to another. And then he asked me at that time, if I'd like to attend. And at live time yesterday, because of it being, Eid and rushed, I just, said that I won't be able to. And then today, Sister Hajira, our receptionist, our front door at Al Ansar, she says to me, we had a listener come through by the name of Qureshi to fetch his tickets, and she says he gave her such a beautiful insight on Ahmed and on on the story, because like Sister Rabia, he's been following it, and she says, I want to be there. So I called Mac, got him a set of tickets, and just by listening to her insights, I said, I've got to be there. This is something I don't want to miss. And then I went onto social media and I sort of researched him, searched his biography, and kind of updated myself on Ahmed, on his journey. And something that really stood out for me is that Ahmed contacted Yusuf Umar 15 years ago. And 15 years ago, he said, listen, I love what you do as a South African journalist. I want to follow in your footsteps. And from that contact 15 years ago, we're here today. That documentary that we all absorbed and we've all synced in ourselves has taken 15 years to reach us today. And that for me is something that is brilliant. It's beyond words. The power of social media, sending one message to one brother in another country on a platform called Instagram has brought us here, has opened the hands of multitudes of South Africans, offering assistance to Ahmed, bringing him here, and just creating this awareness, creating this platform, using it as a platform to assist with aid in Gaza, using it as a platform to tell the world a story. And something that really stood out for me at today's event specifically was that it was a humanitarian event. If we looked at the audience that was present there today, it wasn't a Muslim event, if I can highlight that.
Yes.
It wasn't an event where we all came together as Muslims specifically and stood up for Palestine. It was people of all walks of life.
Absolutely.
It was people of all nationalities. It was people that had come down specifically from the UK. And their intention in doing this was South Africa stood for them. So South Africa took the platform and stood at the international courts for Palestine. And the first screening in the entire world was here in Durban.
Yes, absolutely. So you were privileged to attend the world premiere of this particular documentary.
I'm very grateful for that. They say, what's written for you will be yours. My intention was not to be there today, as there were plans, and within I think an hour prior to the show, Allah made it such that we made arrangements to be there. And I'm so grateful.
Rabia, you noticed that, to be honest with you, I was very skeptical when, I was asked to go, because it's been highly traumatic watching all those videos, over the last few months. In fact, I actually stopped watching because it caused a bit of a trauma. But the documentary itself was far from from those gruesome videos, etc., but had a very positive approach to things. I mean, it's now changed my whole, concept towards this entire genocide.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely. I loved I think what made it so very impactful, combination of factors. Firstly, the raw truth was on there, but it wasn't overwhelming to the point like we have seen, and it can create emotional fatigue by watching this constantly. You can only imagine what they're going through with that continuous, every 24 hours a day it's going on. But there was an underlying message of resilience, an underlying message of hope. There was, particularly for the listener at home, there was this one little snapshot that they gave. They showed Gaza before, and then they showed this little boy who had, I think he was 9 years old, 10 years old, Faisal, and he created a little wind turbine to generate electricity because he had no light in his house. And then how people came together to make these flatbreads because there was nothing to eat. So it wasn't just, the story of tragedy and the very deep, very real post-traumatic stress that clearly Ahmed is going through, and clearly every person in Gaza and even around the world we go through watching this. But it was also an underlying golden thread of, in all these things, alhamdulillah. He said something so poignant in his interview. He said that, he was asked what gives him hope. And if I recollect correctly, he said something that, we all die. Everybody is going to die. So the hope is, alhamdulillah, Allah has everything planned for us already. So every day that, essentially the message was, every day that you're still alive, alhamdulillah. You've got your family, alhamdulillah.
Yes.
Today you've got that little bit of bread, alhamdulillah. So those positive threads throughout left you feeling so inspired that maybe, just maybe, throughout all of this, there are threads of life, because Allah uses all these things, right, for our good, even the worst tragedies, subhanallah. And so it spoke personally to me, to my spirit, about the tragedy, but also about the the power of iman, the power of tawakkul.
Absolutely.
I mean, he didn't hear about his parents. He didn't know if his sister was alive. Just today, to say to us that today he's going into the thing and he gets a call from his sister to say the school where they were staying at is bombed. Like, we're right there. And suddenly that feeling of being disassociated through a screen disappears.
Absolutely.
Because it's not now something you heard via a screen. You're there when this person is telling you, listen, I've just messaged my sister. This is what's going on. And it continues. And yet, through all of it, there is hope.
Absolutely.
And there is iman. Subhanallah.
In fact, one of the questions was posed to him, during the interview. Incidentally, he was supposed to have joined us for the interview this evening, but apparently, the screening of both, the screening of this documentary twice, and having been asked to go through this whole escapade episode twice, has had serious psychological effects on him. He's not in a position to conduct a further interview. But I mean, anybody in that case, it was quite surprising how he has managed to maintain his demeanor, throughout even the interview, etc. I mean, anyone else would have broken down, and especially when you've been through it. And you also notice that he didn't, even when his apartment was bombed, and he kept on saying, this is not good, this no. But he always said Alhamdulillah. He always used the word Alhamdulillah because he had that faith. And when he was questioned, he did mention that, you can plan and I can plan, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of all planners. And he also mentioned that he's got his master plan. We've just got to accept it. I think that was, that to me meant a lot. Now, Nazmira, you also noticed that there was a lot of positivity in this entire documentary. And, he could have showed us, for example, the journey from Gaza to the Rafah border. Yeah, it was quite. They never told us the difficulties that they experienced, all the stops that he had to go, etc. He just said, "I moved from Gaza to Rafah," for example, and he made it sound so simple. Yet he must have undergone severe trauma at that time. And
absolutely,
yeah, I mean, what I liked about it was that it was highly positive. Now, Nazmila, what are your thoughts on this entire thing? And what effect they did say they want the whole world to see this so they can show what's happening there. But what effect you perceive this would have on the populace?
So, like they said, the intention is to try and translate it into as many languages as possible, and especially showcase this to those that need to see it. Showcase it to those that follow propaganda on all of the other channels, and just expose the truth as it is, tell the story, as it is, and just get it out there. They mentioned translating it to Hebrew, putting it out there in the Western countries. And the best part about this is that we've got to make mention that the people that said this are people that are from the Western countries themselves, that through Ahmed have seen the light, and they just want to take this message and allow it to flow. About the positivity, I came home and I described the experience, what I tried to. I think regardless of how many words the three of us can use here put together, one will have to physically experience this to be able to take it in the way that we did. So in my limited use of vocab, when I discussed with family, the experience, I said that us in the world that we live in, we make a lot of excuses. We always speak about why we can't do things, and these are things that are very, very minor. And with Ahmed, it was never I can't, it was I can. Everything was how this is the problem, and what do we do collectively to find a solution? Reaching out to someone, working with people outside the country, spreading the word, assisting everybody in need, traveling from place to place. We noticed in the documentary that there was a time where he was assisting medical teams by comforting newborn babies at hospitals.
Absolutely.
He didn't look at this baby and feel hopeless and say, you know what, there's nothing I can do about it. He put himself in all of these circumstances and he said, I can. And none of us will be able to absorb his experiences, because I stood there looking at him in the flesh, and I'm thinking, how does someone that has gone through all of that and is still going through all of this, standing here smiling at us, answering questions wholesomely, and just keep telling us how he can, and also inspiring us and saying to us, you know what, you can. And my question to him was, Ahmed, what can we do? What do we do? How do we make a difference? Because sitting here, there's a feeling of hopelessness sometimes when you watch the videos, and you say to yourself, but I'm not doing anything. I don't have the power, or what can I do? And he smiled and he pointed to my cell phone, and he says, you've got this device in your hand. Spread the word, put up those posts, share the messages, and create that awareness. There's no such thing as doing nothing. Use the platforms, talk to people about it. If you're standing in the line at a supermarket waiting to pay, indulge in conversation, create the content at your office, create it wherever you are. Keep talking about Palestine. Keep talking about what's happening. And when we spoke of aid as well, he said, go through the various channels, and if you are able to afford to make a difference, then follow these avenues, these reputable avenues, and get the aid into Gaza. If you can't help because you are restricted financially, share it to others, put it in a post, and those people that are able to will contribute. And that takes me back to Brother Muhammad Variawa and the work that the Al Ansar Foundation is doing in Palestine as well.
No, Jazakallah khair for that. Now, you notice the other thing, and I'm talking about Rabia and Nazmira. Whilst going through all of these hardships, I mean, the apartment is bombed. He's sitting amongst the rubble, not sure what the position is, but he's still doing the recording. And when he was questioned, he says, notwithstanding what we've got to get the message across. I mean, look at his commitment. Your comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he said, in fact, he sometimes asked, well, aren't you afraid that, bomb's going to hit you and you're going to die because you try and report this? And he said, I may die, but more will come after me. And that is the message to continue speaking. And I completely agree with what Nazmira was saying. It's absolutely about keeping that message alive, keeping it going. And each and every single one of us will have a unique way of delivering a message. We'll have a unique way of expressing what we're feeling, what we're seeing. I was talking to him as well afterwards about the whole political refugee asylum seeking status thing, because many years ago I worked in that field. And it's interesting for me that, during the time when, just as a side note, when Mozambique was at war, when Angola was at war, South Africa immediately said, well, they're at war, therefore any political refugee that comes in will immediately be granted asylum seeker. That is not happening.
Yes, of course.
For the Gaza people.
Absolutely.
They are not getting immediate asylum seeking status, and that's a concern. But, there's the practicalities, there's the constant demand for survival, and yet there's that resilience. It's almost like it's not that necessarily that there's something that you can do, but it's that something that you must. There is no choice. You have to keep speaking about it.
Absolutely.
Because to not do so is a travesty of justice. We owe it to ourselves and to them. We owe it to the whole concept of humanity to not let this subject die ever. It needs to be forefront of our minds. Yes, we're going to get tired, and just like they do, where he got exhausted in the hospital and he had to literally pull away from it for a little while.
Yes.
But what did he do? He took his break. He got straight back into it. He came right back and said, where can I help?
Absolutely. Rabia and Nazmira, I want to thank you for joining me in the program. I've got 2 minutes. Maybe, each of you can take a minute each and just share a message.
Nazmira, please go.
Okay, Jazakallah. So I just want to touch quickly before I leave about, Rabia mentioned that he left, and we need to focus on the intention of that. We could have someone listening in that says, how is leaving going to solve the problem? He's running away. He's leaving his family behind. So Ahmed had a very strong intention, and his intention was to tell the world what's happening in Gaza. And we know that he's been doing this for 15 years, and looking at him today, he's still extremely young. I don't know his exact age, but he's a child. And if he's been doing this for 15 years, it tells you how passionate he is, how passionate he is rather about the cause. And we need to remember his intention. His intention of leaving was purely because whilst he was doing everything he could to survive, because of the lack of food and because of the water that was quite unhygienic, he had developed hernia.
Mm-hmm.
And that hernia was basically killing him. He was not able to be productive at all. He was spending days in hospital on drips, having absolutely no nutrition and no hydration in his body. And then he had to leave because, Allah forbid, had he passed on because of that starvation, because of not having any nutrition in his body, how would he have continued being the voice of his people?
Mm-hmm.
And that is a very important thing.
Absolutely.
So him leaving was purely to be able to get some nutrition, to sustain himself, to continue the work, to raise the awareness, and to help everyone that is in Palestine. And his goal is to return home
Mm-hmm.
as soon as he can, in a better circumstance, inshallah.
Shukran for that,
And
Ms.
I
Mira.
want to add to that, Faisal, that the fact that he left and the fact that others may leave, there actually should be no judgment against it, because he didn't need a reason to leave. That is a horrific situation to be in. And anybody who stands in judgment of somebody leaving a genocide, really, I'm sorry, but you know me, I call a stick and a spade, needs to have their head read, because frankly, it is devastating what's happening there. The fact that he has that resilience in his mirror that you've just spoken about, that he wants to go back, it's really, really incredible. But you know what? It goes back to what the Prophet ﷺ said: if you see something that is wrong, stop it with your hand. And if you cannot, stop it with your words. And if you cannot do that, then make dua. And dua is the least of all. So every one of us can do something. At the very least, make dua. At the very most, use your voice, use your hands, use your messages, use your social media, and get it out there. This is not over. This cannot die. We cannot be silenced.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Rabia Khawalu and Nazira Kasim, Jazakallah khair for joining me on the program this evening. Inshallah ta'ala, we will talk again, and all the best to you.
Jazakallah.
Thank you. Shukran.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And we'll make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants peace, grants ease to our brothers and sisters in Palestine, and of course helps them overcome those oppressors. Time for me to wish you farewell, and I'm going to be back with you tomorrow morning, inshallah ta'ala, on Rise and Shine at 8 o'clock. But I must thank Hajja Kota for having produced the program. I must thank Modeling for having engineered for me, and of course Sister Safia Khan for having joined me on the show this evening as well. From myself, Faisal Suleiman, till the morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وحسن الربيع وماء المطر أحب الوفاء بشتى الصور أحب الوفي الأمين الأغر فأهل الوفاء كلون السحاب وحسن الربيع وماء المطر مقامهم فوق رأس الجبال وفوق الروابي وعند القمر ويا من تحب غياب الوفاء رأيتك تهوى غياب البصر كم قائل قد أضعت حياتي وفيا لأجل هناء البشر أقول له أفلح الأوفياء وحسب الوفاء يطيل العمر هنيئا لمن أخلص الحب عمرا وسحقا لذاك الذي قد غادر هنيئا لمن أخلص الحب عمرا وسحقا لذاك الذي قد غادر أحب الوفاء بشتى الصور، أحب الوفي الأمين الأغر، فأهل الوفاء كلون السحاب وحسن الربيع